he died in a cold jail cell on the floor.
27-year-old Hardel Sherrell went into Beltrami County Jail August 24th, 2018. Just 9 days after being transferred from Dakota County Jail, he died from medical complications. Hardel's death was the third inside the jail within a 3-year time frame. Over the course of several conversations with Hardel's mother, Shea Perry, we learned more about who Hardel was.
You know, he was a happy-go-lucky guy, loved to laugh a lot, loved to make people laugh, you know, had a huge heart, loved his little girls and his family, was crazy about his mama. He was a mama's boy. He loved his mama. He was my best friend. He was so funny. His laughter would fill a room. It was so contagious. He was like, you know, a comedian. And we all used to say, you missed your call because you got jokes. And he was so positive, even when things looked really bad. Things may not have turned out in the way that he wanted them to. He always saw the cup as half full instead of half empty. But he made some mistakes. And unfortunately, you know, it cost him his life. I miss my baby. I miss him so much. I know that I'll be reunited with him in heaven, but I miss him so much. Now my 3 little girls that he left behind, the oldest being 8, the youngest is 4, don't have a daddy. And it's so hard to explain to them, especially the oldest, who was the closest to him. She says to me, Grandma, why does God have to keep my daddy in heaven? Can't he let him come back now? I think he's kept him up there long enough. And I can't find words. Even as a God-fearing woman, somebody who knows the Word of God and stands on the Word of God, all I could do is just say, God knows best, and hug her. But these little girls will have several birthday parties without their fathers celebrating it with them. Graduation ceremonies will happen without their father being there. They will one day get married without their father being able to walk them down the aisle. It's not fair. It's not fair.
6 surveillance videos released first to Unicorn Riot reveal that Hardel was able-bodied upon arriving to Beltrami County Jail. Within 4 days, his health deteriorated, causing him to fall from the top bunk in his cell.
I need a specialist. They can't help me in here. And I'm in like so much pain. My blood pressure is 160 over 120.
That's why you fell last night?
I fell off the bed, yeah, trying to go take a pee. And they left me on the floor for 25 fucking minutes.
Yeah, that's what I called. I called Simon and told him what happened. And then I also called.
Okay, but you need to call him back and tell him exactly what it is and that it's spine related.
I said, you need to go see about my son immediately. That's what I told Simon. So I'm on the phone with him. Can you call me back? Can you call me right back in about 5 minutes?
Yeah, but make it
so I'm
quick.
trying to get your money back so I can put it on your books.
Oh, yeah. That
Can you hear me?
fucking hurting.
Okay, call me back in 5 minutes, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, call me back. I love you. Call me back 5 minutes.
The footage released to Unicorn Riot only accounts for 4 of the 9 days Hardel was in jail. Authorities have not yet released the other videos. Hardel was taken to the hospital 2 days after calling his mother. However, he was quickly discharged and brought back to jail.
He comes back from the hospital, and there are, from what I could see, 4 officers in the Sally Port. And instead of them bringing a wheelchair behind the door so that the person who's trying to get out can just sit in the wheelchair, they bring the wheelchair in front of the door, so there's no way he could possibly get out. I don't know if my son, you know, couldn't, at this point, how bad off he was, where maybe he couldn't see very well, I don't know. But he was becoming paralyzed slowly but surely, and he couldn't move himself to get out of the SUV. And I don't know what the officer said to him because we have no audio, but I can just about imagine he probably said, "Okay, you can get out now." And you can see Hardel, he's trying to wiggle himself out of the SUV, and they just allow him to fall on the floor in the cold garage. They try to maneuver him to get the wheelchair now because they realize stupidly that they put the wheelchair on the wrong side. So one officer grabs his arm and pulls him back, and they close the door, and then they let him fall again on his face. And he lies on that cold floor in the garage floor for several minutes while they stand around talking about God only knows what. And then they get him into the wheelchair and they kind of just flop him in the wheelchair. And you can see one of the officers as they're wheeling him out and into the jail. Hardel's head must have flung back like so, because he had no control, muscle control. And the officer pushes his head forcefully forward. And you can see that Hardel is crying. They bring him into the jail cell. And I think the next video you see them, because he's still chained up, all fours. And they drag him into the cell. And they kind of just throw him on the bed with part of his foot hanging off of the end of the bed. His left arm is hanging out of the bed, and they just kind of throw a little blanket on him and they leave him there. And I think Hardel, with what little bit of strength he had, he was trying to get his arm back in the bed, and he couldn't. And as he was trying to get himself back in the bed, he ends up falling completely out of the bed. His arm is pinned underneath him. And he lies on that floor for nearly 8 hours. And I think to myself, how could these people think he was faking it? Why would they think he was lying about something like that? And I just had to come to the conclusion that no, they didn't think he was faking it. They knew he wasn't faking it, but they just didn't care. They didn't care. They treated him worse than an animal. My son, again, was in a medical seg. That's where they're supposed to be watching him constantly. There's a button on the wall that he's supposed to be able to reach when he calls out for help. He couldn't even reach it because he didn't have the strength to reach the button. The last video that I saw, which I don't want to go into too much detail because I've not allowed this particular video to be released. It's when he dies. And it looks like everybody's moving in slow motion to help him. And then I'm just gonna leave it at that. But he died in a cold jail cell on the floor. He may have died in a hospital, which would have been a little more dignity, would have given him hope that maybe somebody was trying to help him. But they didn't care.
Hardel's condition went undiagnosed, ultimately causing him to die. When he was pronounced dead, the Ramsey County medical examiner declared pneumonia as his cause of death. However, an independent autopsy determined GBS was the primary cause of death.
The primary cause of his death was what's called Guillain-Barré. And what Guillain-Barré is it's a syndrome, and it's brought on by having had prior upper respiratory infection, such as the flu or a cold. But with this syndrome, the immune system keeps fighting, and it like goes crazy, and it begins to attack the nervous system, wherein then the person becomes paralyzed, and everything just gets shut down. So yeah, my son, he died of a very slow death, and he suffered unnecessarily. And some might say, well, you know, he was probably going to die anyway. No, Guillain-Barré is very treatable. He cried out to me. I told my son, there's going to come a time that you're going to have to cry out to the Lord, because only He can save you. Mama can't save you. There's going to be a time Mama's not going to be there. And I didn't know this was that time.
Hardel's mother has filed a lawsuit due to the medical malpractice, negligence, and death of her son. Given that multiple people have died inside Beltrami County Jail due to similar reasons, she's urging state leaders to intervene.
First and foremost, because of the neglect and abuse that we finally got to get videos and witness, and from the fact that my son's death is not an isolated death. There are 4 people who have died as a direct result of what Beltrami County Jail did or did not do. Well-being checks should have been made for my son every half an hour. I believe that's the law. And they were not done, because had they been done, my son would have not been on that floor for nearly 8 hours. There are 29 individuals we're suing, and then we're suing 3 entities. Beltrami County Jail, MEND, so-called, provides medical care, and then of course Sanford in North Dakota. For so many reasons, they need to be sued, and licenses need to be lost, jobs need to be taken away, and criminal charges need to be brought against them. And I'm gonna do everything I can within my power to shut Beltrami County Jail down. That's my ultimate goal. It's not even about a lawsuit. No amount of money can replace my only child. These people who have also lost their loved ones, they're not in it for the money. They're in it because they want to prove a point that Beltrami County Jail is doing something that they think they're above the law on, I believe. I don't know. But they need to be investigated, and they need to be investigated now. I'm hoping and praying that this message will get out to the governor of Minnesota. Tim Walz, if you're watching this, I'm begging you, please do something. I've tried to reach out to my elected officials, and no one has heard what I've been saying. Nobody's taking my cries seriously. Like, nobody listened to my son. They all thought he was lying. He told me in his own words, Mama, they think I'm lying. They don't believe me. But I need you, Tim Walz. I need you to step up to the plate and help me and these other families get the justice that we so deserve, so that this doesn't happen to another family. I beg you to reach out to me.